Hello, good afternoon. I'm looking at all the participants in this session, and I can see that everybody's in more or less. I'm just checking. Yeah, Maria's also there. Yeah, for this session, we've seen that there was also participation from England, so this session will be held in English. And what we're talking about in this presentation, check technical issues, sorry. We're going to talk about the power of event innovation. And in event innovations, not innovations only, they're everywhere. The whole world is innovating. Every subject that you can imagine is due to digitalization, transformation, and innovation. And I came up to this picture in China on the market. You see everywhere QR codes, and people are very used to paying with QR codes more than we are here in Europe or in the Netherlands. And when I saw this next picture, then I realized that really innovation is everywhere, that even the beggars in the street, when they ask for money, they don't ask for coins, but they show their QR code so you can send them digitally your money. So what I said, when I saw this, then you know that even from every level and every angle, innovation is there. Before I talk about innovations in events, I want to give you just a short summary of what we do in StarLife. We are an event company partnering for our clients in the terrain of live communication, media, and events. And we do that from the scope of co-creation. So we create together with our clients events where no is not an option for us. We always look for the borders of what is possible, limits. And the next quote, always the extra mile, is not invented by ourselves, but that was mentioned by a client after an event we did. He said, we worked all around the world with event companies, but you always walk the extra mile. And it was a very nice compliment, which we use in our slogans. Our vision is, of course, to create something special with the scope to engage the audience and, of course, inspire them into an action or an attitude towards your company. And what we do then is what you know of a lot of companies, award shows, corporate events, trade shows, conferences, and public events. I'm not talking about this in detail. The important thing is that when we started our company, we soon realized that innovations can help you create more impact for your events. And I will show you a lot of innovations that are there, which you can be used for events. And I do some of our own scope, which we had in the last years. We did, for example, for a company, a supermarket company, who transformed from paper documents, paper selling documents, towards digitalizing with iPads. All the salesmen, they were working with iPads after this conference, and it was launched. So what we thought about is, okay, we knew about augmented reality, but how does it work if you have a large audience? Can we do the same thing that you do with your telephone camera? Can we do that with big cameras as well? And this was in 2013. And what we did at a certain moment, 300 salesmen, they hold again in the air a paper document. And what we saw on the big screen, they were holding in their hands, digitally shown, an iPad. So we already used augmented reality 7 years ago. What you see here is a trade show, which we did for Microsoft, and where we worked with a moving floor, which I will show you in the next video. You cannot hear the sound, or not so good, I heard during the rehearsals, but it's more about the image. What you can see is that we work with several partners, and on the floor the logos of the partners were shown, and they moved around, and you could see which partners was having which place in the big stand. When you were in this stand, you really had the idea that you were in a digital world. So it gave you an extra experience as a visitor of this stand, and it attracted a lot of visitors, which of course is also a scope of innovation, to attract more people and give them a better experience with the scope to have more impact with your event. We dealt for a company, sorry, not a company, but the organization of building companies. They had an innovation event for national directors, where the CEO of this organization was shown with what you see in the top picture. He was visualized as a person through a hologram. This hologram was placed at the entrance, and it welcomed all the guests. In this way, he did not need to be there himself. He could walk around, talk with guests, but since it was so innovative and new, every guest arriving new in this venue looked at it, and they were interested in what he had to say. And that's why we all we gathered all kinds of innovations, which we use for events. I will not show this in detail, but I will come with some ideas in the next few slides. But before I do that, it's very important to know that using innovations for your events, it's not a question of doing a trick. It's not that, okay, we have an event, what kind of innovation can we think of to show people and have something nice, like what we show in this picture. Normally you have this Chinese trick with platters. Oh, we do it with iPads and then we are innovative. That's not what I mean. You really have to use innovation to enhance your message, create more impact, and enhance your scope what you need for your event. I hear some background noise. Can somebody please mute the microphone? Another idea is this beam robot. This is what you can call a Skype on wheels. The nice thing is that a person can move this robot around using the arrow keys on his computer. This can be used for an external speaker walking around in an area. I will show it very shortly in this video, where in the whole campaign before the event, there was a woman that was all like the mascot or the face of this event. And she was also there and welcoming everybody and asking them questions about the organization. What you normally see if you what you normally see when you ask questions, people feel, let's say, attacked. They refrain from answering. But when you come with this digital solution, you notice that people are very willing to talk. First of all, because they recognize the nice lady on the screen, but also because it gives them, somehow to say it, new experience, and it feels less aggressive, less hostile than when you, as a person, approach someone. What we also experienced when we used the same robot in a company where they had to ask people to fill in a survey, an employee survey, the response was not what the company wanted, so it had to be promoted. And for one day, this robot walked around in this area, asking everybody, did you already fill in the survey? And what you can see, for example, in the top right picture, she could also interfere in two people or more people talking to each other. Normally, when I come to someone, or approach two persons, they look at you and say, hey, we're talking, don't interfere. But when she did it with this robot, and you can see the smiling faces, people are very willing and open to stop their talk and and they want to know what the robot has to tell them. So it's very easy to make an approach thanks to this innovative technology. The third example I want to talk about is this augmented reality I already mentioned before with the iPad event. Here, this was recently in February for an education trade show. The company invented a complex module, which you can see on the back screen. And this module had to be visualized. And one of the messages was that technology can help you change your education system for schools. So what we did, we built like a structure, which you can see in the middle. In this structure, when you pointed an iPad towards this structure, it showed the system and it showed a video. I show you in the video. So the video came alive. As soon as you pointed the iPad towards this structure. And on the video, you could get more information about this educational system. And of course, you could talk then to the people, understand the crew, but it was very nice to see that the innovation could help them know more and learn more about this system. Another example is the AI juice bar. This we invented 2 years ago, using AI for people to choose a juice. In this case, the people are shown 3 pictures, and based on face recognition, the computer, of course, is in the cloud, analyzes what person do I have in front of my screen. Is it male, female? What age? So some basic demographic issues recognized. And then, of course, the reaction towards the 3 pictures shown. And based on all this information, the computer came up with an advice and say, hey, based on who you are and what I see, I recommend for you this juice. And it was then the yellow juice, which you can see on the picture, the red juice or the green juice. Here you can see it again. The whole idea of this AI juice bar is not only fun, what you can see in the picture below is the 3 pictures with the 3 scores. So which was the best, was the recommendation. But it also helps people to see what AI can do for your company. Because what you see in the top picture was a graphic of how many people do I have in front of my screen, how many people ordered this kind or that kind of juice, how many people of male, how many of female. So you get a lot of business information based on the data that was gathered by the people in front of the screen. So it's a fun activity, but also to learn people how you can use AI to work with data and help your company go along. Well, then another innovation, but this is just for fun, was a lead dance act. We invented this because one of our clients 5 years ago asked to have something new and innovative for an event. And we saw a lot of lead dance acts in foreign countries, in America, in Asia, but not in Europe. At least not what we what we like much, or what was on our standard. So then we thought, okay, then we create this act, this group, and now we have our own show. I can show you a very nice video where you can see that the suits, they illuminate based on music, but you can also use public participation. And in this case, the audience has bracelets with LED, and on the music, you cannot unfortunately hear the music, but on the rhythm of the music, the bracelets, they start to illuminate as well in the same colors as the suits do. So this is really the top of audience participation in a dance act. People are, yeah, showing the same colors as the dance act does. Then another innovation that you can use, and you probably know, are the poi sticks that are LED sticks, that if you turn them very quickly around, um, you can show very nice, yeah, how you say it, images, but you can also show logos and text. So in this case, these voice sticks, you can of course make a separate dance act with it, but we integrate them with the former LED dance act. So the dancers at a certain moment, they use these sticks to add logos as well. So you see the LED dance suits, which you can also see logos. And of course, every company wants to see their own logo. Another aspect of innovation is not only in technique and show or events, but also in visualization, or as you can say, visual storytelling. Visual storytelling is, of course, adding or visualizing the story that you have to tell. First, of course, it's very important that your story is authentic. So your company, your product, anyway, that's important that you what you have to tell is visualized in the right way. And it can also, again, extremely effective to substantiate or enhance the message and the emotions of the audience. This is the first example. What you see here is for a supermarket where the products really are very huge on stage, but this is a projection. It's a 3D projection in which the speakers are, as it seems, in the middle of their own presentation. And here you can see how, with the same video image, you can create several 3D objects, where in the second picture it was about people. On the third picture, it was about the buildings, the new shops they were opening. And in the fourth picture, it was about products. So every speaker had his own theme in the same 3D experience. And that was very nice because the message was what they hear every year, but now the whole surrounding was different. It was never shown before. So the message really came along and people experienced a lot more what was the message of the management. We created also an opening. Since you are not hearing the sound, I will just show you very shortly, where it's very important, how you can see the 3D effect also in a video. So here you see how you can use 3D. This, of course, is done with video projection, but in visualizing stories or your message. LED screens, of course, is very useful. LED screens, you can see in this picture, are in every shape, every form, every size. Whatever you want, you can create it with LED screens. And if you want to create your own event venue with your own screen, although prices are reducing, it's still expensive. So you can also look for venues where they already work with a lot of venues. And I have someone in the audience I saw that, of course, know this venue. It's Studio 21 in Hilversum. It's an event venue where LED screens are basically already there. So when you rent this venue, you can also rent, so you also have these nice LED screens, which you can use to make your own show. And then, of course, it's less expensive than creating this. Talking about visualization of your message, we all know that speakers still use PowerPoint. PowerPoint is the easiest program to make your visualization of the message with bullet points. People are still working with texts. Sometimes they are boring, but that's not necessary. If you have a good creator with PowerPoint, you can create really nice things, and PowerPoint is also developing, so you can in PowerPoint use new techniques to make it more lively. One of the techniques in PowerPoint is morphing, and is a transition from one screen to another screen. You know, all those kind of transitions, if you work with PowerPoint, they can slide from left to right, from top to bottom. They can twist, you can do everything. Morphing is the new technique of transition. It's a technique that's based from the film industry. Maybe you remember when you see in, especially in science fiction movies, where somebody's face really changed into another face smoothly. That's called morphing. But you can also use it now in PowerPoint in slides. I created some objects on this screen, some circles, some lines, and using the morph technique, I will not go into details, this becomes a bike. And it's just between two slides that you can create this bike. I will show you now. This is very simple, but it's just to explain how it works. I will show you now a more complicated way of morphing as a transition method. It's very shortly, so look at this, and it's all done by morphing. First there is a timeline, then you show all kinds of clients, and from these clients one is shown and explained more in detail. This is all done by the morphing technique, and you see it becomes almost filmish. Another very nice feature of PowerPoint is captioning or subtitling. Captioning and subtitling are not the same. Captioning, what's already possible is that you have an English speaker, and what the speaker says is subscribed or captioned in text in PowerPoint. This is done by AI also, but in the near future, PowerPoint will also come up with translations. So when you speak in English, you can have a subscription, or sorry, a translation, a subtitling in Dutch or any other language. But it's something for the near future. Why do they have this caption option in PowerPoint? First of all, because Microsoft, who is the creator of PowerPoint, has a very important scope, and that's inclusiveness. They want to have everybody included. So when you are deaf, You can work with what do you say, deaf translators, you know, the people with the um, hands, they're moving, you know, the signs. But if you are just a bit, you cannot hear very well, but you're not really deaf, then you don't study all these new languages of the deaf translator. So then it's very nice to have captions under your screen so you can at least follow what's said. Another means is that when you do, for example, these webinars, and you want to follow a speaker, but you're in a noisy situation, you cannot maybe hear well what's said through the computer loudspeakers, then with the captions you can still read what's said. The next innovation I want to talk about is face recognition. I already said that face recognition is used with this AI juice bar, but another option, of course, is to do the registration by face recognition. Imagine that you subscribe to an event and you upload your photo, then you come to the event on the day itself, and you go to a station with a screen, with the camera. The camera recognizes you. I mean, the computer, of course, recognizes you and say, "Hi, welcome to this event. Your badge is printed," and you don't need hostesses or other people to think of lines. To check off the registration list, wait in a line, etc. This is very much quick. It is very quick and very innovative as well. Augmented reality. I already talked about this before with the education stand. This was a video I came up on the internet, and it inspired me as well. I should first show you the video. You see the OV chip card, that's the card to use the public transport. When you show it on your phone you see the whole metro lines network of Amsterdam. So that's very easy. You don't need a map. You just take your card, because when you travel public transport, this card you always have with you because it's your ticket to enter. And your phone, well, nowadays your phone, you have it always with you. So with these two objects that you already always have it with you, you can easily see the map of Amsterdam and see which station you have to take or which line you have to take to go to the next station. As I said, this inspired me that, for example, imagine that you, for an event, have your entrance ticket and you create an augmented reality of the timetable or the way to go to which room. So you don't need maps and other things. You just have these entrance tickets with several options digitally. Holographic projections, holograms. I already talked about the man, that the CEO that welcomed their guest with a holographic as a holographic person, but it was small. You can also do it on a big stage, only that until now real holograms are still very expensive to create, and as an alternative, holographic projections are made with transparent screens on which you can project, but it looks like really holographic effect. And that's something I want to show in this video. You see this dancer in the middle of screens interacting with what is shown on the screen. Since you don't see the screen, it really looks as you're looking to a hologram. We call it the holographic projection. And you really can create impressive shows with this. Yeah, and then of course online events. I talked about a lot of innovations until now. Innovation that you can use for live events, events that until a few weeks ago was daily business for a lot of you and a lot of and us as well. Since March, we cannot do any events anymore, live events, and we're waiting until the governments decide that it is safe to do it again. So every company is now looking for an alternative, and they found this in online events. The acceptation of doing webinars, online events, well, you can see this as an example, is has run very quickly. Of course, we dived in this subject as well. We did online events as part of live events in the form of course, hybrid. But now, since there are no live events, it's all on digital platforms. The only thing is that for a lot of people, online events, they think of it a webinar. It's me here in front of a camera talking to you about innovations. Yeah, that's a webinar. For me, it's not an online event. For an online event, you have to think of digitally the same aspects that you do for a live event. So in our view, when you talk about online events, the audience, you should have the same experience. So when you enter to a certain link to the event, first of all, you are welcomed, you register, so we know who you are, and then of course, you go to a virtual lobby. In this lobby, you can already see around what's there. Then at a certain moment, you go to the auditorium or where the plenary session takes place. And here, this can be in a studio, this can be in a real studio, this can be in a virtual studio, are the presentations. Let's call it the webinar. And this webinar can be done, of course, with one person, but as you can see in this picture, you can also have a host with the guest in the studio, and at the same time call in other people, presenters externally, and show them on screen. And of course, you can do breakout sessions, but another part for digital and live events is important, is networking. So also important to create network groups that are like conference meetings where you can chat with other people visiting this digital event, or talk to the speakers, or you can create various groups. And the last part, of course, you want to have sponsors in your events that can add to the cost of the event, but also promote themselves. So we create digital booth where the sponsor can show themselves and the visitors can see or learn about these sponsors. They can see videos, they can download brochures, but they can also talk to the sponsor. I show you this very short video of Heineken, where on the screens you can see, you can show a video and learn about the company. So as a visitor, even if it's digital, you can have the same experience, or more or less the same experience, as you have in a live event. Then two more innovations. Kinetic lighting. That's something that came up a few years ago, where objects, and mostly as you can see in this picture, it's light bulbs, but it can be any object. They hang on strings, and these strings are moved up and down by computers. And if you see this picture, you can imagine every bulb as a pixel. So you get a field of pixels, and if you program in your computer a show, these pixels, they can move up and down or change color if you use LED bulbs and create very nice effects, as you can see in this video. You can have from the ceiling forms, logos, text falling down. They can change color, and you can even create shapes. It's not in the presentation, but we've seen with kinetic lighting at BMW in Germany for a launch of a new car. Here you can see a shape, a round shape. They created a car using these bulbs. And the last innovation I wanted to talk with you about is the light drones. Of course, we all know drones. They're coming up very fast in all kinds of businesses, also in the event business. And especially when you put these special lights on it and you make them computerized, these drones can be flown by computers in a very huge group. Intel, and I'll show you already the video, did this a few years ago. First they used 300 drones. In the last one, they used 500 drones, creating these effects, what you see in the video. I always say this is the new fireworks. It's good for the environment, and it's very impressive because other than fireworks creating just nice colors, nice effects, here you can also create pictures and logos. So you can brand it and you can make promotion. I'm just waiting for the logo, and here you saw Intel, the logo, and here you see the picture of the world coming together. Anyway, these are big shows. This is for the company's very large budgets, but it's really impressive. So these are a few of the innovation I wanted to share with you. Just to summarize, why should you use innovation in your events? First of all, I already mentioned it, for the attention. It will attract more visitors. Then, of course, you create a bigger impact for your message with the visuals. It gives you also the image of a really modern and innovative company that's up with its time. Then, of course, because it's all digital, you create a lot of data. With the AI dashboard, I already mentioned it, so you can measure, for example, the number of visitors that's coming up to you, the kind of visitors. You can use it for marketing goals. Measuring, I already talked about heat maps. And visitors will share and supply data that you can use for marketing. For example, you log in with your email address. So this was my presentation for innovation. I'm looking at the chat. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to answer. If not, I have a question for you. What kind of innovation would you like to use for your event? And that can be something that you've seen in this presentation, but it can also be something that you are wondering about, that you're thinking about. Just put it in the chat. I don't see any questions appear. So then thank you for your attention. Good luck with all the events in this period of non-live events, but digital. And hopefully soon again with live events. See you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.